Today's discussion is all about staffing, and staffing is a very loaded word when you take it into its broadest sense. It is the day you decide that you are already overwhelmed and burnt out and saying, I wish I could hire someone. It is the day that you've had someone there for 5 years and you realize you haven't celebrated them as an employee, or 10 years because they've been with you for so long. So we're going to cover a lot, from the idea of hiring to actually getting some job descriptions together and getting job offers out there, to actually celebrating your staff and what I would call a staffing journey. So that's what we're going to talk about, and the idea of what is your sphere of genius? Where are you handing things off? If you've ever felt stretched thin, overwhelmed, or like you're the only one who could do everything, this is going to be that call we talk about today. So by the end of this, my goal is that you're going to have a clear path and a first step you can take this week. I'll continue on clicking. There we go. So your hiring roadmap. Today is a map, and it really needs to be thought of like that. We're going to start with who you are. We're going to frame your values, because most people I work with have never actually framed their values. And once you frame your values, this whole thing becomes more clear. A lot of what I teach comes from 2 or 3 different books. We're going to talk about those. But this idea of value setting, values clarity, comes from the book Traction. So if you've never read this one, you could just Google the synopsis of it. But I do, again, have an entire video set for values and how to set your values. If you've never set your company values, or you haven't done it in the last 2 years, this is absolutely step 0. You have to have clear values for yourself and for your clarity of your business. But also, when you go to hire someone, we can teach people how to be great coaches. We can teach people how to make a good pizza in our business. We can teach people how to make sales. It's a lot harder to teach people how to be good people. Sure. It's really hard to teach an old dog new tricks around their mindset and their values. So if we hire for values, we hire for clarity. We know we're going to be surrounded by good people, and then we can train them on the skills we need. Hopefully, in a best case scenario, we can have all of it come together as one. But if we have to make one choice over the other, we have to hire someone with good values, and we'll train them to be good employees. The other side of this, and one of my earliest mentors told me this, is make sure when you hire someone, if you're looking at values, you can make at least a 2-hour car trip with a broken radio and still be happy you hired that employee. So that's a quick context. Could you travel for 2 hours with your employee with a broken radio and have conversations and not feel like you're just going to pull over and walk the rest of the way? Food for thought there. We're going to map your values, how they work in your sphere of genius. This is a phrase I really love. It makes me sound smart, even though I'm not. Sphere of genius. Where do you work the best in your business, and where can you outsource other things? Quick thoughts on that is, a lot of people I work with, especially me coming from the fitness space, a lot of people say, but I love coaching. I earned my CrossFit level 3, my CrossFit level 4. I've earned continuing education. I'm the best coach. Fine. If you want to keep coaching, you can. But then you have to hire someone for sales. You have to hire someone for marketing. Or the flip side of that is, you hire someone that's a great coach and you do the behind the scenes. You work on the business. But the reality is, it's hard to do both until you've mapped out what you are best at. And when you do what you are best at, that's called working in your sphere of genius. The reason many of us get burnt out along the way around staffing is we try to do everything, and we do the things we don't like, that we're not good at. How many of you, not really, but how many of you by show of hands don't really like AI or don't really get it yet? But yet you're sitting there tinkering with it, trying to learn it, trying to figure it out, when your time would be much better spent making a sale or changing someone's life on the fitness floor, something you're really good at. That's your sphere of genius. But you're sitting here tinkering with something else that you're not good at. Sure, you might try to learn it over time, but what if you just hired someone that was good at AI to fix all your problems on the side? I'm not saying that's something to do right now. It would just keep you moving forward. What's your structure? How are you systematizing things? How do you fund the hire? How do you actually know if you can afford them? And then how do you do that with intention, which I've already been talking about a lot on this slide. So stage 1 starts with you. Before we talk about anything else, we talk about you, the CEO, and that real crazy thing between your ears. The thing that starts and stops everything in your business, that mind that says, I can't afford, I'm so busy, how will I ever hire? I've never hired. I posted the job description. No one's applying. All the crazy thoughts that go on between your ears in the hiring process starts with you. The most important thing for you to understand from day one is where you personally are as an entrepreneur, bar none. All the people on this call live, and if you're watching this recording, are at different places. If you showed up to my call 2 or 3 weeks ago and we talked about the idea of perception and the apple, you guys all looked at a red apple and saw different things. So if we're going to take this idea of perception into hiring, we're all looking at our businesses a little bit different. We all have different spheres of genius. So we all can't say, well, I'm going to hire a client success person. I'm going to hire a head coach. I'm going to hire a salesperson. We have to understand that we are all different people and that different hires are right for us in our business. While someone might say, oh, go get one of your members and let them trade out membership for cleaning, the other person might say, yeah, I tried that. And the person spit on the floor and told me it was clean. Obviously, there's a lot of sarcasm there, but we can't just assume what works for somebody is going to work for us in the hiring process. We have to take our feelings out of it. We have to look at the data inside our business. Are you already burnt out? If you're trying to hire while you're already burnt out, that's way different than if you're hiring when you're excited and there's more money. When there's enough money and you're hiring out of abundance, you're like, oh, I'm going to pay a head coach $45 an hour. With a person that's burnt out, it's like, oh my God, $45 an hour, maybe I'll come work for you. And there's all of these things in between. We have to think about what you're doing there. And this isn't all to say that you guys are weak or you're bad leaders. It's about data. We have to get honest about your own capacity because this is the foundation for every decision we're making when we're hiring. So when you're doing this, when you're taking these actions, I need you guys to rate your energy. Name the one task that drains you the most and start to think about what I could offload. So as we go through this and we talk about the value ladder and we talk about what's available to you, we start thinking about that. What's the one thing that every week you keep looking back on and you're like, yeah, I do that thing, but if I could offload that, oh my goodness, my life would be different. For some of us, it's inputting programming into apps. For some of us, it's getting the schedule updated for the weekend shows. For some of us, it's the idea of writing that staff schedule because I haven't created a better system around it. For some of you, it's updating your website, whatever it is. Everyone, again, you're all a little bit different. Most of us have that one thing that I'm like, oh, if I could just get that off my schedule, I'd feel a little bit better. I've already referenced one book, the book Traction, 2 more books that I love about this training. And if you guys want some references, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell is the idea of reclaiming your hours that drain you and redirecting your focus. And the other one is Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. Instead of saying, how do I do things, you start to say, who can do this? If you're stuck and you really want more, especially Who Not How is a great listen. If you'd like to listen to books, it's kind of written like an extended podcast. They do some interviews throughout it, and it's just a really great book. So if you want some more on that, definitely jump into there and start with that. Dan Martell, in his reclaiming of his time, I have a slide on this section. No. The Buy Back My Time is going to be broader and just going to help you label. Buy Back Your Time is probably a little bit more of what I'm going to talk about today. And again, I have an entire training on that one. So if you're thinking, oh, I would love to do this, this is the idea of writing down everything in your business, writing down everything you're doing and starting to identify things. We're going to do that today a little bit as well. Who Not How, again, it's not how do I do this? It's who can do this for me. I do really encourage you guys to pick one. If you're either thinking about, I don't know, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, you think about Buy Back Your Time. If you're starting to think more about hiring and you just want to get a little bit tighter, then Who Not How would be a great start. Oh, the other thing I missed on is the value ladder. This is really the engine behind everything that we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about that on the next slide. If you're watching this video as a recording, make sure you have a pen and paper out for this next section and be ready to pause it and take some action. If you're watching it live, we're going to do some work together right now. The value ladder does begin with the word that's in there already. It begins with values. You have to define what your values are and your vision are for your business first. This matters so much because when you have values that are clear, you can articulate exactly what you are hiring someone for. That's worth repeating, and it's on here if you're reading this trying to read this whole slide. The values, when they're clear, articulate exactly what you're hiring someone for. One of our values in my business was people focused. So when I went to hire, I was hiring someone to be able to communicate with all of our members. Were they focused on the people? Did they understand that how important it was to say everyone's name at least 3 times when they were inside of our business? Did they know who was going through life issues? Did they know who was getting married? Did they know who got a new job? The idea of being people focused was such an important value. I couldn't train the ability to have your head on the swivel, but I was going to hire someone to be able to help continue to change people's lives because that value was so clear to us. This is the beginning of what lets you do values-based interviewing. So if you're hiring someone and there's different models of interview style, I love values-based interviewing. So you can do values-based hiring. You also could do things like the people analyzer, where people are not doing the roles you asked and you have clear values. You can fire them, you can hold them accountable, and you could always point back to one specific set of clear values to say, this is how we hold you accountable in it. When you know what you stand for, you know automatically the right people that are going to fit into your business. Do any of you guys that are live on this call put a 1 into the chat or hold your hand up because I can see you all. Do any of you have your values written out clearly? I got a starting place for most of us.
What
then we got one of them.
Of course, Daniel.
Yeah. So we need to know, you should have ideally 3 to 7 values, and you want to know those because that is something that's going to give you clarity when you move forward. So now let's map out everything you are actually doing. Maybe. There we go. Lagging today. In this exercise, I want you guys to literally make a list. And if you're live on this call, make a note because you're going to come back to this. If you're watching this recording, be ready to pause. Make a list of every single thing you are doing as a business owner. Record it if you need to. Voice memo yourself. What is everything that you do as a business owner? You're showing up to a call like this, continuing education. That is something you do as a business owner. You call the cleaning company when they miss the cleaning. If you're in the north somewhere, you call the snowplows in the winter. If you are a business owner and you have a landlord, you're calling the landlord when there's a roof leak. What is everything that falls under your description as the owner? But wait, there's more. The next step, anyone get a sham wow feel right there? That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
The next step is to write down everything in your business. So again, you're not going to be able to finish all this right now if you're live, but if you're recording this, pause it. So step 1 is write down all the things that you do. And then the step 2 is write down all the rest of the things that actually happen in your business. And then I want you to grab 2 or 3 different colors, if they're colored pencils, if they're highlighters, whatever you use. And I want you to grab basically a green highlighter for the things that bring you joy. The things that are within your sphere of genius, the things that you look at and you're like, I just love doing that. I personally, throughout most of my career, I loved doing competitive programming for like a mid-level athlete, someone that wanted to do local competitions, someone that was just pushing themselves to like get their first muscle up and do things. I love doing personal programming and charging for that. It just worked for me and I was able to do that pretty comfortably. So I didn't want to give it up. And a lot of the times I was trading doing that for babysitting for my kids and other things. That just didn't bother me. It wasn't hard. I could do it kind of sitting there hanging out. For someone else, the thought of doing programming for someone to get their first muscle up, they're like, never. I don't want to do that. I also just loved meeting with my staff. I loved giving them motivation. I loved giving them clarity. I loved hearing what was going on in their lives. I didn't want to outsource that to HR or have a head of staff or anything like that. So just things to think about. What are the things that bring you joy? Now take a second color and highlight the things that just drive you nuts. So a red color. The things you're like, oh my God, if I got rid of all of these things right now, I would be the best leader ever because I would start to get these off my plate. Hopefully there's more green than red, but you know what? Maybe for some of you guys, there's going to be more red than green here. And then finally have that third color, that caution color, the yellow color. We're like, this one doesn't bother me. I have to keep doing it right now because someone has to do it, like paying payroll or something like that. But I really would like to offload this in the future. This is where you really start to identify what you need to do for hiring. Because anything that's in red, you need to be thinking that's out of my sphere of genius. Not only do I not want to do it, when I do it because I have to, it's actually making me worse at the things in green. It's actually making me not finish some of the stuff I should be finishing. As you're going through this red, yellow, green, it's really important to take into consideration the things that you're good at, that you have to keep doing, that bring you joy. The things that you're good at that fall into the yellow and red category, those are things that bring a lot of caution. If you're really good at something, but it's in the red, again, you might be holding yourself back from doing more great things in the green. If you're really good at something that's in the green or in the yellow, in the middle round, you might not hire for it for right away, but you need to make sure you're articulating that you are, at least in the back of your mind, thinking about who might be better than me at this. One of the biggest goals as a business owner is being surrounded by people that are better than you, smarter than you in different areas. That's not going to happen every day, but in some points of your career, throughout your business life, throughout your travels, whatever it is, you're going to have a conversation with someone who's going to say something that you've thought for a long time clearer than you say it, or with better thought than you say it. And you're going to say, whoa, can I hire you? Or who else do you know that might work in that way? And then you'll start to have conversations that replace you in more of those yellow areas, even if you're good at things. Now, the next step, if you made a list of everything you're doing in your business and all the things that happen in your business, as you do this, and you highlighted red, yellows, and greens, you need to put a number sign next to those. This might take a little bit of work. And honestly, I haven't done this drill since AI has come as predominant as it is, because you could probably do this a lot quicker now. You can make your entire list and you can throw that into AI and say, hey, give me approximate pricing or cost of staffing for all these type of roles. So I used to tell people to go to Glassdoor or go to a website and actually look for these things. But now I would say, hey, go throw this all into AI. What are all the things? And say, find me the average pricing for this type of position in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Santiago, Chile, wherever you are, and let it do the work for you. Because I bet you that'd be a really great hack and something I haven't tried yet. And now you can say, well, the things in green and the things I love have a value to them. The things in red have a value. And this is a massive first step for when you say, I can't afford to hire somebody. Because now you can start to do math of the value. In my particular example, coaching was about $20 an hour, $25 an hour for a coach. Okay, if I hired a coach to coach 5 hours a week at $20 an hour, that was about $100 a week, 5 times 20. If I free up 5 hours a week from myself, can I sell at least one person at $100? So if I gave up 5 hours a week of coaching for $100, in 5 extra hours, can I make one more sale for at least $100? Hell yeah, I could. In fact, if I had 5 extra hours, I could probably make 2 or 3 sales on good weeks. And let's just say a sale was worth $100. Well, if I made 3 of them, I just made $300. And that would probably take me an hour and a half. And I still have 3.5 hours extra. And I tripled my revenue from what I was doing, what would have happened if I was coaching. So this is how you start to find your sphere of genius. This is how you start to map it all out. It's never, I can't afford to hire someone. At some point you have to say, well, what can I afford and how will I make the money back? Because I can't keep operating in the red. And that's what I really need you guys thinking about. There's a value to every role. And once you see it all, we can put that value on the right piece in the right places. Structure, systemize, and build your communication chart. This is massive. I go back to the book Traction. They call it a communication chart. I call it an org chart. Most of you guys can picture an old school chart where your name's at the top and it splits down, and then there's other people's names underneath it, and it splits down. There's the janitor and everybody. If you haven't seen that, again, come back to a call with me, shoot me a message, and let's talk about how to do this. There's also a great book that kind of talks about this called The E-Myth. And if you've never read this as an entrepreneur, start over. You've never been an entrepreneur yet. E-Myth is usually the introduction to entrepreneurship if you haven't read it. But they started to talk about in the first layer, or I'm sorry, in the first attempt at an org chart, Your name is probably going to be in every layer. Every box, though, should have its own job description. So you're going to have a CEO, maybe a head manager. You're going to have a coach. You're going to have a salesperson. You're going to have a front desk staff. You're going to have a food staff, whatever it is. Every single one of those boxes should actually have a job description or a system underneath what it means. This is why you just listed out everything that happens in your business, because everything that happens in your business is essentially a job. Now, do some of those things come together into one box in this org chart, or do they all have their own place? Unfortunately, for many people watching this call, your name, let's just say you have 20 boxes, your name's probably going to be in 15 to 20 of the 20 boxes. Your goal should be, and you write this in pencil in theory here, because your goal is that you start erasing these one by one. I mean it when I say this. This is absolutely one of the most freeing exercises you'll ever do. Because now when you know what all the different jobs are, you put value next to all of them. And you see the right person that one day, and you're like, oh my God, that person fits everything I wrote in that box. Hey, Kylie, when are you going to come work for me? What do you mean? I never knew you. I had this job description I wrote like 2 years ago. And I've gotten to know you over the last 3 months. You fit every single button, bullet point in that box. I would love to hire you for this exact role I wrote out 2 years ago. I never even knew you were in my life at that time. Holy cow, I didn't know you would do that. Yeah, I would love to do that. It's going to be a part-time role right now. It's going to be a 6-week contract. I'm going to have you do all of our photos and help us with social media. We're going to see how it goes. And if I see that there's an ROI to my social media when I hire you for this box, I'd love to make it a more part-time role or maybe even a full-time role. Is that something you'd be interested in? If you can't tell the way I tell that story with such conviction, is that's an absolute true story. Her name really was Kylie too. Chad probably remembers her. She was a photographer. She did a lot of freelance photography on the side. We wrote the social media description a long time ago. Finally, I saw what she did and I didn't realize what she did. And I saw some of her photos, especially when Instagram was like, oh my gosh, she is talented. And she was just an awesome member at our gym. How do we hire you? I didn't know you were hiring. I didn't know I was hiring. You're just too good to pass up. Another one of our best 2 coaches that we ever had. One coach, she came in selling Ascent protein. She was the Ascent protein rep in our local area. And she was so awesome. She came and took a couple classes. I met her over 3 months coming to sell us protein. Hey, Kendra, when are you going to coach for us? She wasn't even a member at our gym. Her personality, I just needed it in our gym. And the last one was a great CrossFitter in our area, a really good person. Turned out to be, I didn't know her as well as I thought I did, but she was a good hire for a while. She was a bartender at a high-end restaurant. And that particular restaurant served some of the biggest brass in our community. So when we saw her, she's not like slinging drinks to the college kids, right? She knew how to talk to professionals, people that were making a lot of money, all these things. And I went and saw how she communicated with people at the bar. And you can imagine, most of you guys have been in this world. If somebody in their upper 20s can talk to someone that's a multimillionaire and also talk to some drunk asshole at the bar at the same time, they're probably be a pretty good CrossFit coach.
Yeah.
And so I knew she was also into CrossFit. And I said, hey, would you be interested in coming coach for us? And she's like, oh, well, I kind of coach at this other gym. Great. I'll pay you $25 an hour instead of $20. When do I start? All of these are true stories because I had the job descriptions already written. Because we had the org chart with our name in every box and things were evolving, and I was able to erase it with pencil and say, you fit this box. You fit that box. I didn't go out always saying I'm going to hire, but I was proactively ready because we had the systems, the structure, and we built our chart to start to say, I can't keep doing this forever. And the day I find you, I'm going to offer this to you. And maybe I can't even afford you, which was the case with Kylie. So I can afford you for 6 weeks. You want to give it a try? And then she ended up working for us for 2.5 years because the ROI was there. You have to build these things and realize they are living documents because they're going to evolve over time.
3.3.
As we're writing out our org chart, the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we've written out our SOPs. Most of us have some type of quirky thing in our gym that if I found the right person, which is exactly everything I just said, we had the right people, I had the right job descriptions, I was ready to hire this person on Monday and today's Thursday, I need to make sure that when they started their job, they knew how to turn on the music. They knew that our fan switch was installed backwards. They needed to know that the music turned on, the volume switch was whatever. You need to be writing your living documents, your SOPs, as often as you can and putting those in place, because the day you have your job descriptions, the day the person comes into your life that you're ready to hire, you can't be fumbling along saying, oh, this is the job I have. You need to have clarity and be ready to hire them. And that's how you're going to move forward with this way faster. I've already covered a lot of this slide. I can't afford someone is a math problem. It really is. Most people I work with get paralyzed and they say, I just can't afford to pay someone. And I said this earlier, you have to reframe it and do the math together. Say you pay someone, I did this, $25 an hour and to open and coach your morning classes 2 hours a week, 3 days a week, 6 hours or $150. Over that 4 weeks, can you make the $600? You know that because you know what your service is worth. You just simply go in and you make the sale. You make the sale that matches what you need to do. And honestly, a lot of gyms start making more sales and do better, or a lot of businesses start making more sales and do better when they know they need to help pay for something that they just bought into. And then when you're more free, you make better decisions, you end up hiring more people, and you make more money for your business as well. Or maybe you actually just sleep for 8 hours for the first time in 2 months. Like, who knows what it is, but there's so much clarity comes with just not saying I can't afford someone and doing the math that actually brings you in there. So run the math for the next role you want to hand off and make sure you're ready to do it. We've already started to talk about this as well. Delegate outside of your sphere of genius. You need to be hiring with intention. I kind of jumped the gun on this already. I started telling you all the stories about how I hired with intention. I had the job description written. I saw the people that came into my life and I started to plan early. Beyond the daily tasks, start looking at the things outside of your strengths. For a lot of us, that's going to be social media. That's going to be marketing. That might be sales. These often carry their own financial planning. So it's a deeper conversation if you really want to go into how do I afford that part of it, but you can. There's a lot of good business books out there and a lot of business tactics. They'll say you hire someone, they should be bringing in at least 2 times what you're paying them. So not only can you free up your time and go make more money, the right hires will actually bring in 2 times what you're paying them, so you'll have more money. The mindset is the book, Who Not How. The more you feel like you cannot afford to let something go, the more it might be the very thing you do need to let go. On the live call, when I paused it earlier, somebody asked me, how do you know when you're really good at something, when you should let it go? It's when you realize that you can't afford not to anymore. That someone else could do it better than you, and it'll free you up to do other things. So I do want you to think about circling one thing outside of your genius task that's costing you the most energy right now. Maybe you even love doing it. I personally love tinkering with AI right now. I love connecting Claude code to co-work and go, I'm nerding out about this stuff. But the reality is every extra hour I take on that is something I'm not building for perfect day. It's a sales call that I might not be setting correctly right now. So I have to be very conscious with my time and realizing I'm giving up an area that's outside of my sphere of genius right now, AI, and not taking care of what I need to. So once you know the roles and you write down the descriptions, you're going to know what you could be hiring for a lot more. Once you finally hire someone, you need to be actively hiring. You need to be going and thinking about it, what your staff journey actually looks like. So you need to onboard with intention. Hiring someone in the start is the start. It's not the finish. At the very beginning of today's call, I said, we're going to talk about the breadth from hiring all the way to keeping someone for a long time. This is that middle ground, setting the intention. And I'm laughing because Daniel and I worked with someone today, if you watch this call, about this exact piece of the puzzle. You can't always hire someone and compete on money. We are not big corporations. We cannot afford to hire someone and pay them more than other businesses in town. But I can set a precedent with what I call a staff journey. If you're not in the first week of hiring somebody, if you're not taking them out to coffee, buying them lunch, setting up a little bag that says, well, a basket that says, welcome to our business, with maybe a staff shirt or some gift cards or a freaking fruit basket. I don't care what it is. Showing some intention that you care about this person on the day they walk in and they just walk in and you're busy and you're running. Oh, hey, welcome. You have to set this staff up for, if you want to keep, as a small business owner, if you want to keep them, you have to set them up for success from day one. Make them feel loved, seen, and cared about. You're going to spend a huge part of your life with that person, and they're going to spend a huge part of their life at your business. You don't want to keep turning over staff year after year just because you're not giving them something as simple as a powerful moment. Make your place comfortable, exciting. In your job descriptions, you have to talk about why this is an amazing place to work. You have to set the precedent that I might not pay you the most in town, but I'm going to be there for you when your child's born. I'm going to give you an extra day off because you haven't been on a date with your spouse in a long time. I'm going to pay for half your plane ticket to Vegas because you need to get out of town next week. I don't know what you're going to do, but you need to find ways that make your staff feel loved and cared for. Design a real staff journey. Do you have something that you celebrate them with on year one? For us, this is a true story in this green here. We had a great relationship with Lululemon. I was a Lululemon ambassador, so was my other owner. And we bought a gift card for our 10 full-time employees. It was like $125, $150 gift card. I can't remember. But we asked Lululemon, and they actually did this for us. They bought food and snacks and dinner, essentially, and some drinks. And they stayed open for a half hour longer, and we came a half hour before they closed. So we had an hour-long staff night at Lululemon where our whole staff already had money, and we bought them dinner. It cost me $1,200. I could have given each of those 10 staff members a $120 gift card or a bonus or cash and said, hey, here's this. But instead, they had a whole night experience that I guarantee you, and I'd put this to the test if you want to. Ask them I don't know if they'll remember the exact year, but you could call Kendra or Hudson or one of these people that used to work for me and say, what did your business do for you around the holidays back around 2015? What's something you remember they did for you? And I'm very confident that we made a powerful moment. And they would say, oh yeah, I remember that one time they took us to Lululemon. Oh yeah, I have pictures of it. And people think this about it for a long time. If you said, did they give you $100? They'd be like, oh, I don't remember that. But they remember going to Lululemon, having dinner and having an entire night in a store that they would never do something like that. So $1,200, again, could be a lot of money to you. I get that. I had a lot of staff, but it also created a powerful moment. It was part of my staff journey. We took them to baseball games. We took them to different events. I would buy gift cards to their favorite restaurants just to make sure that they understood that we were doing more than just paying them money in exchange for them being part of our business. Retain and ascend your staff. They're in there, they're working, you have a staff journey, all these things are exciting. How often should you be meeting with your staff? Well, if you didn't even realize you should be meeting with your staff, let's start there. At least once a year, you need to be meeting with your staff, a minimum. Ideally, at least twice a year, and really 4 times a year. A big mistake that a lot of us make right away is we think all 4 of those meetings have the same weight, and they don't. There should be one annual meeting, and you have to set the precedent that we only give raises, we only give further steps up the ladder once a year. That's when your big performance is really evaluated. Maybe at the midpoint of the year, you'll give some surprise and delight bonuses in the US or wherever. Maybe they do this other way. Like you'll do like Christmas bonuses, things like that. Sure, you can do that, but you're not going to give someone a raise 3 months in just because like, I need to make more money. That would just do havoc on your bottom line, on your P&L, if you're just giving raises whenever someone asks. You do this once a year in a certain amount of meetings. For us, it was usually in the summertime. Then you have a middle of the year meeting somewhere around Christmas time that you might give some bonuses. The other 2 meetings are simply to say, I see you, I care about you. Here's what you've been doing good. Here's what you haven't been doing good. Do you need to go to continuing education? What do you need in your life? These should be much lighter meetings. Maybe they're even over coffee or a breakfast. Staff, especially younger staff, they love getting food bought for them. To them to go to the local brunch spot that they would never go to because it's too expensive for them and you pay $40 on their breakfast can be a mind-blowing experience for younger staff. I don't know if you guys remember that. I remember that when I was like 22 and my boss took me out to like dinner one night. And I was like, oh my God, you just spent $80 on dinner for me. Like the world was the best place ever. It was like my first time to St. Elmo's, if you guys know that steakhouse. It was like, I thought it was crazy. And now it's like, oh wait, she was just trying to retain me because I was doing a good job. So I still remember. Invest in their growth, clear career paths, have a good meeting cadence, and make sure that you really understand what your staff needs from you so that they understand this isn't just a transaction that you're going to hire them for once and done. We also had a bucket where our staff could apply for further education throughout the year. Everyone had written into their contracts, depending on how long they were with us, somewhere between $500 and $1,500. They had to apply for that money, though. They would have to write us a little note that said, I want to go to Power Monkey Fitness Camp because I'm going to learn this, this, and this. The camp costs $2,000. Can I put my full allotment of money towards it if I do that? And we would usually have a sit down, but they had to do this. They had to formally write us a letter so that we could hold them accountable why they wanted to do this. And then we would sit down and talk about it. Okay, we're going to give you the full $1,500, but we're going to give you $750 now. You're going to go to the camp. And when you come back, we're going to have a meeting, depending on the amount of money, and you're going to teach the staff what you learned. So then they would come back and we'd have a staff meeting and they would teach the staff. If they crushed it and they showed that they actually went and learned, they'd get their other $750 for the $1,500 allotment. Maybe they needed a continuing education piece paid for. Maybe they needed travel paid for. We went to the Two Brain Summit many times. We would pay for their hotel rooms, but they would still have to earn why they did it. So we invested in their growth. We would pay for their things. And then one time, one of the same girl, actually, she wanted a new laptop, Kylie, the one I talked about earlier. And she wanted like the best MacBook because she was doing a lot of really good stuff. She was a photo editor. Well, that was very expensive. I can't remember what it was, but it was a $2,500, $3,000 laptop at the time. Great, we're going to buy it, but you have to work for us for 4 years. If you leave us between now and the 4 years, you have to pay us the remaining balance of what it would be. So let's just use easy math. Let's say it was $4,000. Well, she did actually leave after 3 years. Her life changed and she moved out of town. And I said, great, give us our laptop back. She said, well, can I buy it? Yeah, you still owe us $1,000 if you want to buy it. Great. I'd like to buy it off you guys. I want to keep it. She got her brand new laptop for $1,000 essentially. So these are just different ways you can be investing in your staff. And if she didn't, I would have a laptop that I could keep using and I probably needed. And it was a business expense anyways, right? Like, so all of these things were win-win-win for us. And these are things you want to be thinking about. So the final piece of all of this and putting it together is your path forward. Start with yourself. Be honest. You're burnt out at times. You're throwing your hands in the air. The bathroom's not clean. Someone's complaining about it. What is really triggering you, zapping your energy and frustrating you? And Peter won't shut up about it. Once you identify those things and you write them all down, we have to get clear on our values. If you could really align people and hold them accountable and hire them correctly, you can train them to be better employees in whatever role they need, but you cannot change people easily on what their beliefs are and what your beliefs are. So hire with values first, and then take it one step at a time. Buy back your time, build your team, work within your sphere of genius. Every single person I've ever worked with through these steps has come back to me in the next month or two and said, oh my God, this is the best employee I've ever hired. And while yes, that might be true, my response to them is, no, you're the best leader you've ever been up to this point because you have better systems built than you've ever built before. So ideally, you might be hiring better people, but you are becoming a better leader and a better CEO because you actually have a path to hiring the right people. And you're not just trying to fill in gaps and hope it works out.